Hello everyone, welcome back to Spatial Exploits. In today's video we'll be reviewing El Clásico that took place on Sunday, October 24th here in Camp Nou inside of Barcelona, Spain. And looking at each team's recent matches, for Barcelona they had a midweek Champions League tie against Dynamo Kiev at home, which they won 1-0. And previous to that, coming out of the international break in October, on the 17th, they had a match against Valencia as well, which they won 3-1. For Carlo Ancelotti's Real Madrid, they did not have a LaLiga match to play coming out of the international break. So their last match was a 5-0 trouncing of Shakhtar Donetsk in the Champions League. Moving on to the formations, both managers Ronald Koeman and Carlo Ancelotti put out the 4-3-3 formation for their respective sides. For Barcelona, it was Piqué and Eric Garcia at the back again, with Marc-Andre ter Stegen in goal. At left back there was David Alaba, at right back there was Oscar Mingueza. In midfield we saw Busquets, De Jong and Gavi, with a three-man attacking line of Memphis Depay at the left, Ansu Fati in the middle, and Sergiño Dest at right wing. For Real Madrid, it was an unchanged side from the one that faced off against Shakhtar in midweek in the Champions League, so Courtois in goal with Alaba and Militao as the defensive pairing, with Lucas Vázquez at right back and Ferland Mendy at left back. In midfield, we have the decorated three-man partnership of Casemiro in the holding midfielder role with Toni Kroos in left midfield and Luka Modric at right midfield. Up front, Karim Benzema led the line with Rodrigo to his right and Vinicius Jr. to his left. And on the right-hand side and the left-hand side here, outside of the pitch diagram, these are the players that came into the match as it progressed. For Carlo Ancelotti and his men, the starting 11 was unchanged from the match against Shakhtar Donetsk midweek. And in that match, similar to how the forwards ran rampant, they looked to produce the same type of tactical formation against Barcelona so that they could control play from the three-man midfield, allowing the three-man forward line to go ahead and wreak havoc. So the ability of Kroos, Casemiro and Modric to quell attacks, intercept the ball, and progressively bring it out from the back from Militao, Alaba over to the forward line would prove pretty consequential to how the outcome of the match progressed. For Ronald Koeman and company, there were definitely more tactical changes than the ones that Real Madrid came into the match with. For instance, when looking at the 3-1 league win over Valencia, a couple things stand out. So Mingueza was actually not starting at right back in that game. Sergi Roberto was actually at right back. And then a couple things happened here. So De Jong and Gavi actually changed positions. So they look like this in Valencia's match, with Ansu Fati also changing positions with Memphis. So this is how Barcelona lined up against Valencia. The reason this becomes so important is because of the interchanges that can take place between Ansu Fati when he's on the left wing and Gavi when he's on the left side of midfield rather than the right side of midfield. Additionally, Memphis Depay, though he's not the tallest player in the world, he does provide a good back to the defender type of hold-up play that allows creative runs to be made alongside him as Barcelona operate in the attacking third. The other novelty was Sergiño Dest at right wing. And against Valencia, this actually worked out very, very nicely for Barcelona as they did put up 3 goals. But in a match against Real Madrid, a team of a higher caliber than Valencia, it would certainly be interesting to see what would happen. So if we reset the lineup back to what it was at the start of the match, it becomes very clear the few things that we've pointed out. So could the connection between Gavi and Fati that had worked out so well against Valencia maintain itself during a match against Real Madrid? If Fati is playing at a central striker role and both players are not in their preferred left-wing operations. Additionally, it stood to reason how Sergiño Dest would perform as a right winger here. Could he handle making progressive runs into the Real Madrid midfield and past it and take on the quality of defenders like David Alaba and Ferland Mendy? So for Barcelona defensively and Real Madrid offensively, this left wing became monumentally important for both teams to carry out their attacks. In the opening 10 minutes of the match, Barcelona has actually done a good job of holding possession deep into the Madrid defensive third. And Casemiro actually has had a couple of important giveaways close to his goal. So the Barcelona high press has been doing really well, but at the 12:45 mark, As Barca are operating in the mid-block now, and Madrid are starting to hold possession of the ball, Militao sends a pass to Alaba, and at that time Ansu Fati and Gavi are the closest players, so they start rushing him to prevent him to having too much time on the ball. So Alaba takes a touch or two, and he unleashes a long left-footed pass over to Vinicius Jr. that cuts off Oscar Mingueza. So before Alaba launches his left-footed pass, Benzema is just offsides, with Piqué being the furthest man back for Barcelona. So where Piqué is where the offsides line starts. Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo are touching their respective touch lines to provide width, and Alaba notices this, and he picks up on the fact that Mingueza is tracking and cheating a little bit closer to Garcia, meaning Barcelona are a little bit narrow. So that becomes the opening shot across the bow for Madrid, where Alaba launches this type of a pass. Vinicius starts making this run. Mingueza is caught flat-footed, and Eric Garcia starts to sprint back in this way. So with Junior coming through with the ball, Garcia does eventually catch up to him, and as he approaches the sideline here and unleashes a shot attempt, it hits Eric Garcia and goes out for a corner kick. But this sequence of events, which lasts from 12:45 to 12:55 in the match, give a good insight as to how David Alaba, Ferland Mendy, and Vinicius Jr. are going to terrorize the Barcelona defense on the right-hand side, which is Dest, Mingueza, and Eric Garcia. At the 24:15 mark, Barcelona have possession of the ball, and they actually have to attempt a goal kick from Marc-Andre ter Stegen. As ter Stegen evaluates his options, he realizes that Real Madrid pretty much is playing man-to-man on the goal kick, so options to Garcia and Piqué. Of course, if Piqué and Garcia are willing to drop back like this, then there can be passing options to his left and right, except they are further up the pitch, and there's perhaps a chance that if Garcia drops back, then Junior also can go here too, and same thing for Benzema Piqué. So instead of going to these options or going out wide where Ferland Mendy is cover shadowing Mingueza, same thing with Rodrigo and Alba, ter Stegen actually does the following, which is Ansu Fati activates a run to cut in that drags Lucas Vazquez in with him. And at the same time, ter Stegen launches a low flighted ball over to Memphis, and Memphis and Militao are now basically covered. So by the time it gets to Memphis, the ball is actually in this type of an arena, with De Jong now starting to have made his run. And so Casemiro is trying to track back with him, but De Jong's already in full flight. So as Fati comes in this way, Memphis finally gets possession of the bouncing ball, and he starts to make a run in these spaces. And so what happens is David Alaba, who was originally on Sergiño Dest at the start of the goal kick, he realizes the danger that Lucas Vazquez has with Ansu Fati using his pace to cut in from the left wing. So Alaba goes to pick up on Fati in case Vazquez gets beaten by Fati, as Memphis attempts the drag back pass across the Madrid goal. And so while Alaba is helping out his teammate in Vazquez, Sergiño Dest actually has that open window. So he's going into these spaces with Ferland Mendy trying to track back, Toni Kroos also trying to track back. And that's when Memphis attempts this pass across the width of the box, and Fati gets a slight touch on it, and Alaba is basically taken out of the play because of the forward momentum towards his goal that he already has, and the ball gets to Sergiño Dest with a clear goal-scoring opportunity because Courtois is now caught off guard as well, and he's diving back across his goal. So Sergiño Dest basically gets his right foot on and then sends the ball high up over the crossbar. And as the ball lands into the upper bleachers of Camp Nou, it's clear to everybody in the stadium that Sergiño Dest has basically ruined a perfect opportunity on goal, and this was Barcelona's definite best chance up to this point. Had he converted such an easy goal opportunity, Barcelona would be up 1-0 at home, and they could play the game a lot differently than they would progress to play. So this was a very important missed opportunity from the American right winger / right back. In the 31st minute, we see Barcelona holding good possession of the ball, and they're pinging it back and forth on the left half space. As Ansu Fati dribbles inwards in the half space, he attempts this pass between De Jong, Casemiro over to Memphis. And as this pass is coming, Alaba sees the danger. He presses very, very closely to Memphis and eventually wins the ball off of him. As he does this, Alaba has the foresight to dribble outwards in this manner. As he's working his way out, and Memphis is now having lost the ball tracking back against Alaba, He passes the ball over to Vinicius Jr., so Mingueza presses up closely to him, except Jr. is able to really work through this problem with Mingueza and come out with possession of the ball. So with Mingueza beaten, what happens is Benzema starts to make this inside-out run where he drags in Eric Garcia with him, and then as he sees that Junior is about to make the pass over to a Rodrigo who's going this way, as the rest of the Barcelona team follows the ball where Junior has it, Junior unleashes the pass over to this way, over to Rodrigo. So now Piqué, Eric Garcia, Busquets, they're all trying to follow where the ball is going, and it's obviously going to Rodrigo. So Benzema then makes his angled run back towards Rodrigo's direction, while David Alaba, at the same exact time that all of this is happening with Junior and his passing, is starting to make this run here in the space that Garcia has left behind. So it could be standing to reason if Mingueza didn't have this heavy pressure on Junior as soon as he got the ball from Alaba, and he had actually lingered here. So if Mingueza was here, then Alaba making this run would not have mattered. But because Mingueza decided to press Junior in these spots to win the ball back and failed at it, Junior had the time on the ball to unleash a pass over to Rodrigo to switch the focal point of the attack, while Alaba started making this run. And Memphis was tracking back with him, but at some point around this area, he gave up. And so while the rest of the team here is moving and Ter Stegen's now getting prepared to have a Madrid team coming towards his goal, Rodrigo sets up in this position with Benzema starting to cut in, and Busquets also trying to track Rodrigo's run. And it's this moment where David Alaba receives the pass from Rodrigo in this area. And as soon as he does this, Garcia realizes what's wrong, and so he starts tracking back towards Alaba. And as they get to this area here, Alaba unleashes a dangerous shot from his left foot across the goal from Marc-Andre Ter Stegen, and the power and pace behind the sudden shot attempt towards Ter Stegen, the Barcelona keeper isn't able to parry the ball or get a touch on it. It's a very well-placed shot attempt. So as Alaba peels away in celebrations, the rest of the Madrid team joins him, and it's clear that as good as Barcelona have been in possessing the ball when they do give it up, and just the slightest of mistakes leads to a lot of pressure on the defensive end, and because they don't have the fastest central defensive partners in Piqué and Garcia in tracking back, combined with the fact that Memphis didn't track the run of David Alaba all the way through, and Mingueza was too assertive on Vinicius, all of those factors combined to lead David Alaba to have his first goal in Real Madrid colors. Coming out of the halftime break, Real Madrid would be going from left to right now when they attack, and given the fact that they were up 1-0 already going into halftime, coming out of halftime, Ronald Koeman decided to make a substitution. So he took out Oscar Mingueza, who had been consistently beaten by Vinicius Jr. and Ferland Mendy on the left flank, and he brought in Philippe Coutinho. Except Coutinho doesn't play right back, so Dest actually moved to right back, Coutinho moved to Dest's positioning on the right wing, and then Barcelona were able to progress. As the match progressed in the second half, Madrid tried to hold on to the 1-0 lead they already had, and throughout the progression of the match, in the 72nd minute, Federico Valverde came into the match to replace Rodrigo. However, due to a nasty head collision and an awkward landing, he was taken out in the 92nd minute in place of Dani Carvajal, who came in to provide that defensive solidity in the Madrid back four. Additionally, in the 74th minute for Barcelona, Sergio Aguero came into the match as well as a substitute in place of Ansu Fati, who hit the bench. In the 77th minute, Sergi Roberto as well replaced Frankie de Jong, who had a very lackluster match. In the 85th minute, Gavi came off in place of Luke de Jong, and in the 87th minute for Real Madrid, Marco Asensio came onto the match in place of Vinicius Jr., who had terrorized Barcelona's defense up to that point. Even with Vinicius on the bench though, Real Madrid did look to get that definitive second goal that would seal them all 3 points. So at the 92-48 mark in the match, Real Madrid win the ball from Barcelona as Barcelona were attacking deep into the Madrid third, and with the team having lost possession, Toni Kroos found the ball on the left flank and unleashed a pass over to Lucas Vazquez, who was actually closer to Piqué when the play began a couple seconds earlier, but he started making a run in, and while Piqué was taking out his frustration and Coutinho and Memphis were not tracking back, neither was Aguero, and Luke de Jong was only half-heartedly closing in on Toni Kroos, so Kroos had plenty of time on the ball to go ahead and launch the pass over to Vasquez, and as Vasquez takes account of the ball and gains possession, he realizes Marco Asensio is making a run, and there's this entire area in this side where there's just green grass between him and Ter Stegen. So Vasquez unleashes a pass like this, Asensio latches onto it, and Jordi Alba starts chasing after him. Busquets now has given up on defending against Benzema one-on-one, so even though Benzema is making his usual run this way too, Busquets starts to cut in to hopefully ward off the attack from Asensio. And as Asensio dribbles with the ball further and further down Barcelona's third, Busquets starts tracking him too, as does Benzema, and Eric Garcia is here with Vasquez cutting in on just to the inside left of Garcia. As Asensio gets into this area here, he's surrounded by Busquets and Alba, but he does unleash a shot against Ter Stegen, who parries it, but really he just parries it onto the path of Eric Garcia and Lucas Vasquez, and it's at this moment that Vasquez actually beats out Eric Garcia for that final decisive touch on the ball with his foot, and leads to Real Madrid's second goal, and he peels away in celebrations while Eric Garcia, Jordi Alba, Sergio Busquets are hitting the ground in frustration. So while Real Madrid celebrates and they go up 2-0, Barcelona, just a couple minutes later, deep into stoppage time, do get a consolation goal through Sergio Aguero in the 97th minute, but that isn't enough to put any sort of dent into the match, because a few moments after Aguero's goal, the ref blows the whistle for final time. Since this was an early kickoff match, with Real Madrid getting all of the points that they needed, they temporarily went into first place, and later on in the day when Real Sociedad and Atletico Madrid played to a 2-2 draw, Real Sociedad did climb to the top of the league table with a match in hand. So Real and Sevilla are tied for second at the moment with Sociedad on top, and Atletico Madrid are now going to be in the fourth place with Real Betis and Osasuna as well, neck and neck with them. Barcelona and Ronald Koeman suffer yet another defeat in a big match, so they drop down to ninth with a match in hand to most of the teams surrounding them. Of course, the match was a very big one in the career of David Alaba, as it was his very first goal, and to mark his first goal along with a match of the importance of an El Clásico was all the more important, and this will become a cornerstone moment when his Real Madrid career highlights are played years down the road. Additionally, for Barcelona, this was Kun Agüero's first goal for the club, and hopefully, as the tweet here mentions, it's the first of very many to come, and hopefully this means he can get a spot secured in the starting 11, because it was very evident today in El Clásico that Koeman did make a lot of tactical changes and not all of them worked. Additionally, Ousmane Dembélé and Pedri were not available for selection, so that meant Barcelona was down a few key players in midfield and the forward line. Had they been available, this would have been a different tactical formation setup, so it's not fully Koeman's fault, but given the players he did have to work with, it wasn't probably the best move to put Fati as striker and Gavi on the right flank, because it did destroy the clear connection they displayed against Valencia in the 3-1 win in the last match day in LaLiga, where having Gavi and Fati on the left flank led to a lot of chances on goal, with Memphis at the central striker position. Additionally, putting Mingueza at right back, while on paper may have provided some defensive coverage, the issue is Mingueza was not set up to handle the pace of a Vinicius Jr. or a Ferland Mendy, and Sergiño Dest being pressed so far up the pitch made it difficult for Mingueza to come out on top with those one-on-one battles with speedsters like Mendy and Vinicius. At the end of the day, there's still a lot to improve for Barcelona. There's a lot of tactical formational things that Koeman will have to keep tinkering with. It seems like he'll have a lot of time on his hands, unlike a certain manager in the red half of Manchester who also suffered a heavy defeat. And if Koeman has time to work with the likes of Sergio Aguero and get a healthier squad back available to him, it seems like the next few batches of games Barcelona has, with one coming up against Bayern Munich in Bavaria, Barcelona should be able to play a few more competitive matches and really start to gel together as a team. Now, that may not lead to good performances right out the gate again, but there are some promising signs on the horizon for this team. For Real Madrid, the Champions League looks like they're going to go through pretty easily out of the group stages, and in La Liga, with a game in hand, they should be topping the league the next match day they have. They also have a very deep squad, so other than Atletico Madrid and potentially Sevilla. There's not going to be that many challengers. Real Sociedad has really put in some great performances in their first 10 matches of the league, but it remains to be seen if they can continue that. So it looks like Real's league to win because Atletico have faltered and they haven't quite started rolling under Cholo Simeone's formations and tactics this season. So with the defending champions Atletico in the midst of figuring out what tactical setups work best for them, that might lead to a couple more uneven performances, and with the Champions League basically secured for now, Madrid can focus back on the league and try to maintain a sizable league over their league opponents in Spain.